new, but it is an unfortunate result of sin. So if there wasn't sin, there wouldn't be power grabs, there wouldn't be greed, there wouldn't be pride. And that's my goal as a Christian, is like, man, if I preach well and I preach the true gospel, then we could see people who aren't prideful, who aren't greedy, who aren't manipulative and deceptive, and there won't be a need for conflict.
All right, guys, Shane Winnings here. We are at AmFest. How's the festival been for you?
It's been good, man. It's my fourth one.
Wow.
And it's been fun to watch it grow over the last few years.
How many people were at the first one you went to?
I think there were like 10,000.
Oh, so it's pretty big.
They expected 20,000 this weekend or something. I mean, since game.
I think there's more than that, honestly.
Probably.
It's been packed.
This media row was never this big. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah,
so
fun, dude.
Really cool.
Did you speak at this one?
I speak tomorrow morning.
Nice. What are you going to talk about?
So I'm on a panel with like faith in the public square, Riley Gaines and a couple other people.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that a big part of your messaging these days, just preaching faith?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's my main message. You know, I never thought I'd be in like a political space, but I really just bring the gospel into that because I think as Christians, we need to be in that space, right? As opposed to the current view by a lot of people, which is that, you know, the church and the state should be separate.
Yeah.
They don't really understand what that really means.
Yeah, times are changing. I remember growing up, politics was never mentioned in church, but now it seems to be more integrated, right?
Yeah. Well, politics is the way you care for people on a macro level. So it's the highest form of love. You know, we have house rules. We've got rules at our workplace. But when we want to talk about rules in the nation, you know, all of a sudden the church is like, whoa, let's not talk about that. Right. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, that's a good point when you put it that way.
Yeah.
Because you could find out a lot about someone based off their politics.
Right. When it's literally like, here's how we're going to take care of you, citizens. Why would I not want to have a voice in that?
Right.
And if I don't, that means someone else is. And, you know, newsflash, like not everyone has your best interest in mind.
Yeah, I'd say most people don't.
Exactly. And you would hope Christians do.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty easy argument, I think.
Yeah, I like that argument. You had a legendary moment this year being able to pray over Trump.
That was crazy.
Yeah, talk to me about what happened there.
Dude, that was nuts. So, you know, I've done a lot of work with TPUSA Faith and some other organizations. And basically, you know, it was right before his rally, there was like a little summit. And in between the summit and the rally, they said, hey, we're going to go pray over Trump. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I'm just thinking, I'm going to be in the room. We're going to pray over him. And then when we get in there, a couple of my friends were like leading this kind of event. And they said, hey, let's have you up front. I'm like,
wow.
Whoa. You know, and then all of a sudden, there I am.
Crazy.
And it was cool to meet him. I mean, you know, the most powerful person in the world. There's a reverence there. But I think afterwards, thinking about all that he's been through, like the attempted assassinations, you know, more than one. And the fact that this was probably one of the most important elections in American history, getting to pray over that president, I mean, that was really cool.
Yeah.
So
I was the most important in our lifetime for sure, and maybe entirely.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, if it went the other way, who knows?
Dude, we had a lot to lose.
With the border, the way it was going, who knows what could have happened?
I mean, yeah, it was going to be bad.
Yeah. And as a former veteran, you see what Kamala said about the military people. It must have really infuriated you.
Yeah, well, and it was just kind of par for the course. You know, by the time she said that, I was almost chuckling at it because I'm like, I expect worse out of you, actually. So this is pretty tame.
Yeah. She said no one was stationed overseas.
Yeah.
And then you saw the videos of them like.
Right. Dude, like number one thing in journalism is like, don't say something that can easily be disproven, you know? And that's the biggest, like, you're lying is you get a video from guys over there like, well, who the heck are we?
Yeah.
You know? So again, it was just, it was ridiculous.
Do you like Trump's stance on war, pretty much anti-war?
Yeah, I do. I don't like war. I mean, people die, you know, I've lost friends over there. I've lost soldiers. And it changes people and nobody wins in a war, really, you know? And I realized like through the Bible, God used war, but ultimately it's a result of sin. Like we were never supposed to have wars. You know, if Adam and Eve had never sinned, we would have never had this pride struggle and power grabs and land and blah, 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 and whatever. So I'm looking forward to the day when we don't have any more war.
So I've never read a Bible. Could you explain when you said God used war?
Yeah. So like through the Old Testament, as God was liberating his people, you know, the Israelites, he would have them overtake other countries that were, or other people groups that were like, for instance, sacrificing children to like idols or burning them or.
Shout out to today's sponsor, Prolon. If starting the year with a fast feels a little daunting, you're not alone. There's an entire community of individuals wanting to make a meaningful decision in their health, just like you. This is what makes group fasting so powerful and why I'm joining in on Prolon's January Longevity Challenge, which is a coach-led program to set you up for fasting success. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. I got all 5 boxes here and I'm starting day 1 tomorrow. It's researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by leading US medical centers. It helps promote healthy blood sugar, enhanced skin appearance, fat loss, and improved energy and focus. It all starts with their 5-day program, which contains snacks, soups, and beverages designed to keep the body in a fasting state. No guesswork or planning required, which is a relief after a busy holiday. If you guys are ready to make 2025 your healthiest year yet, order your Prolon 5-day kit at prolonlife.com/DSH. And they're offering Digital Social Hour listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. Use the code DSH at prolonlife.com/DSH.
Just worshiping other gods. And so God's like, hey, I'm a jealous God. You're going to serve me. And so you're my people. Go overtake this land. I'm giving it to you, and then we're going to have a generation that is following me.
Interesting.
And so war is a biblical thing. I mean, war started with God, really. It's not anything new, but it is an unfortunate result of sin. So if there wasn't sin, there wouldn't be power grabs, there wouldn't be greed, there wouldn't be pride. And that's my goal as a Christian, is like, man, if I preach well and I preach the true gospel, then we could see people who aren't prideful, who aren't greedy, who aren't manipulative and deceptive, and there won't be a need for conflict.
Yeah.
That's the goal anyways.
That's super interesting. I always just thought of peace when I think of God and Jesus,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he is a God of peace, but it's like on his terms. So there's a line where Jesus says, I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. And what he means by that is Jesus came to bring the truth, and the truth is going to divide. I don't need to be divisive. I just say what's true, and then you'll pick a side, right? And it's going to divide. And the thing about peace in the world is that peace is filled with compromise.
Yeah.
So like if 2 nations at war want to have peace, they come up with a peace treaty and they both compromise. God says, I'm not compromising.
Yeah.
Like you're either for me or against me. And so when nations came against him, it's like David and Goliath, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Goliath, the Philistine army, they were going to take over God's people and enslave them. And God said, I'm not having that. And so, most of us have heard the story. David kills Goliath, cuts his head off, and then the Israelites, are victorious.
Wow.
So that's the God we serve. He's powerful. But the difference is, versus other faiths, God doesn't call us to go out and kill people in his name.
Right.
That was all like as God was playing the story out, revealing himself. And then ultimately Jesus came and showed us who God is.
Yeah.
Right. But the difference is there's other religions out there that say if people don't convert, kill them. And like, that's wrong. But we're also balancing this with the 10 Commandments, which tell us thou shalt not murder.
Right.
So Christianity is a religion of peace in the sense that like, I don't ever want to hurt someone. But it is an uncompromising truth. Yeah. So I don't want to get that twisted. Like we're supposed to be out here killing people. they don't agree with us or something, because
he'll use it when needed.
That's not Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, and there's nothing in the Bible to indicate that he will ever do that again.
Oh, really?
Because since Christ has come, God has revealed himself through his son. So now because of Jesus Christ, like anyone can be saved. The Old Testament was God revealing himself to man through a people group. And so there were times when he'd have to overtake other gods, to show people like, hey, I'm the one true God. No one's going to defeat me.
Yeah.
And he did. So yeah, I don't see any biblical justification for Christians ever imposing war or their will on other people forcefully.
Do you believe in any biblical prophecies?
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah. I've seen some posts of how a lot of them have actually come true from the Bible. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, dude. And if you look into Jesus, like even just as a historical figure, he fulfilled like a crazy amount of Old Testament prophecies, which these things were written long before he ever came to be. That was one of the most compelling arguments for a lot of people is like, dude, how do you reconcile in your brain when 100 people say this thing about this one guy and then he shows up?
Yeah.
It's like, wow,
Logically, yeah, that's tough to fight against. If
Right.
100 people that didn't know, did they know each other or no?
No.
Oh, so that's even crazier, right?
Yeah, or just a guy who's going to exist 1,000 years from now. You know, like that's where some of these people were at.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I love biblical prophecy. You know, even did you see the prophecy of the guy who said that Trump would get shot?
I thought that was astrology. Was that not?
No. So there was a Christian in like April. He put out a YouTube video. You can find it. And he literally said, I saw in a dream or a vision or whatever that Trump would they'd try to kill him.
Yeah.
It would graze his right ear. And then he would win the election.
Yeah.
You know, and he said this in April. I mean, that's highly specific.
Yeah. What are the odds of that?
You know,
Like the same ear and the same type of.
exactly.
That is interesting.
It's amazing. And I've experienced some of that in my own life just because God speaks. I'm actually teaching a YouTube live tonight on how to hear God's voice. It's funny that we're talking about this.
You can train your body to actually.
Well, God has given us his spirit if you're a Christian, right? So he will give you his spirit. And so if it's the spirit of God, he can tell himself anything.
Right.
You just have to learn how to hear his voice.
Interesting.
And so I'm really trying to teach people like, man, there's times you've had an impression or you had a thought that, you know, you had no business thinking or whatever. Like lean into that, test it. Because I believe faith is spelled R-I-S-K, right? You got to take a risk.
Yeah.
You got to take a leap of faith if you want to follow God.
Yeah.
And so it's cool.
Yeah. What's life without risk? Imagine living a life where you didn't take risks.
I mean, have you ever taken a risk?
Every day. It wouldn't be fulfilling without it.
Right. It's boring.
Super boring.
And it's like the line from JFK where it's like, don't pray for an easy life, pray to be a stronger man. I want a life that's challenging.
Yeah.
Like I want to do things that suck. You know, I'm weird though. Like there's times where I'll be like eating something with my right hand. I'll be like, man, I don't want to get weak with my left hand.
I did.
So you do that?
Brush.
Bro, I thought it was so crazy. Yeah, I'll rest with my left. And you feel like, man, I'm weak. I got to put this thing up.
No, it doesn't have to be crazy risks. Like just walking up to someone at a conference that you made eye contact with. That's a risk.
Yeah, saying what's up.
Yeah.
You know, giving yourself the opportunity to be rejected or misunderstood or whatever. Like that's how you grow as a person.
Yep.
So I love it, dude.
I love it. And I used to hate it. I used to be scared of it. I used to just live in my bedroom watching Netflix 18 hours a day.
What broke you out of that?
I'd say YouTube videos, motivational videos.
Like Goggins or like?
Yeah, Goggins. At the time, that's what I needed. Now, that's not really what gets me going anymore. But yeah, like motivational speeches, TEDx talks.
Nice.
Gary V.
And you were just like, I can do this?
Yeah, because I just had a lot of confidence issues in college, you know? I was super skinny. I wasn't getting girls. Didn't have many friends.
Yeah.
So.
Well, dude, you're killing it now.
Yeah. Well, now this podcast gave me a lot of purpose in life, to be honest.
That's awesome.
I wake up with a lot of inspiration and energy.
I love that.
I mean, we got 20 episodes today, and I'm still.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, you're not getting leftovers, man. I feel like you're primed.
No, you're good, man.
Come on.
I did see this when you were in the military, forced vaccinations.
Yeah, shoot.
So that's why you left, right?
No. That was when I was a cop, they were starting to flirt with that.
Okay.
I left the military in 2016, but I did comment on it, you know, because I lived in a very liberal state. I was in Washington when the lockdowns hit.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Washington State was like locked all the way down. I mean, Trump called Governor Inslee a snake, and for good reason. And I was weighing that with my wife, like, man, if they force vaccinations at my police department, like I'm out.
Yeah.
Just even by principle, but alone, you know, all of the other data behind it.
Right.
But
and they did it, right?
They didn't end up doing it.
Oh.
You know, they kind of, I don't know what they were thinking. There was a lot worse stuff going on in my department. They didn't have time to be worrying about that.
Yeah. You were on federal way. That's probably one of the most corrupt, right?
Oh, dude, it was crazy. I mean, we had cartel coming through there.
What?
We had, oh yeah, bro. It was.
And they were meeting you guys?
It was, no, not us. But I mean, like, there were houses that we couldn't go to, you know, because they were being surveyed by, you know, 3-letter agencies or whatever. And it was a rough city. They call it Felony Way for a reason. So like if you ever hear about like a mass shooting near Seattle or anything like that, they're probably from Federal Way. Like all the school shootings, all the big incidents that happen, we'd be tracking those guys down at night because they'd come back to Federal Way.
Crazy.
It's wild.
So you probably had a lot of trauma. How did you deal with that? All that?
Dude, with the Lord, honestly, when I was in the military, I was a confessing Christian, but I wasn't like a follower of Jesus.
Yeah.
So I went to church. I played drums at a church, but I lived like everybody else. Like we'd sleep with girls. I'd get drunk. I'd do whatever because that's what everybody does. And then God spoke to me one night. I didn't know he could speak. And I grew up in church and I didn't know he could speak. And I was sitting on my bed one night and I had a thought that was directed at me. And the thought was, you've never lived for me a day in your life. And I was like instantly convicted that I was so selfish and prideful and I'd live for myself. And so I was like, wow, I think this is God, And I was like, I had this like radical encounter. And so I gave my life to Jesus as I was going through the police academy. And so whenever I'd go on calls and stuff, I would just be talking to him. So like I'd go to like a child, sex crime call or something tough, kid died or whatever. And I would just talk to him when I'd get back in the car because he's real. He's not fake. He's not up in the clouds. And I could feel him giving me perspective and revelation and understanding. And so I never walked away from a call like, well, how could this happen? It's like, I know how this could happen. It sucks, but it happened because there's evil in the world, and I could reconcile these things. Whereas some of the stuff I dealt with in the military, I didn't handle it well. I handled it with partying and alcohol, and I ended up suicidal, and so it was a very different reaction to trauma. Even in 2020, someone tried to murder me.
What?
Yeah, dude, it was what crazy. Yeah, you want me to tell you about that?
Tell us.
So me and my partner were chasing this stolen RV, and the guy, we're behind him. He keeps pulling over and stopping really hard.
Yeah.
Like jamming on the brakes. And so I'm thinking, dude, this guy's about to get out and shoot or run. So after like the third time, I'm like driving and I've got my gun on the dashboard and I'm waiting because action beats reaction. And he stops. I can't see around to his door because the RV is so big. I mean, it's a freaking RV, So I get out and I'm like wedged between the car and the door, and I've got the spotlight in my hand, and I'm gonna blind him if he comes around the corner and shoot. And all of a sudden I see the white lights come on, and I don't even have time. And he like smashes into the car, hits me, sends me flying in the air, tries to run me over.
Damn.
Like, dude, it was nuts. And I came up. I was unharmed. I had a bruise. Like, it was wild.
Yeah.
I remember flying through the air and I was like, my wife's going to be so pissed that this is how I died, because I'm thinking I'm about to die because I got nailed. I'm like, if I hit my head, like I'm dead, man. Yeah. But I popped off the ground. I had my gun. I was about to shoot. And I'm thinking, what if someone else is in the RV, or we're on a tight street? I'm like, what if I shoot him and he crashes into a house and like kills someone?
Yeah.
So I didn't shoot and he got away. But I had peace because the Bible says that vengeance is the Lord's. And so I was like, man, you know what? I hope that guy encounters God and gets saved. Like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Never found him. Never found him.
Wow.
But I had peace. I wanted to go back to work the next night.
So no regret.
No.
Wow.
Not at all.
Because I think some cops with a certain mindset that would happen to them, and they would be like, oh, I should have shot him.
Oh, dude, I could have dumped my entire magazine into that RV. Yep. But especially in Washington, I got to give some credit to the state I policed in. They hated cops, dude. Like,
they did.
The prosecutors for the state and the county, you'd be on trial for something like testifying, and they're trying to hang you up on something.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Why is it like that there?
Because it's a radically liberal state, and when you see, I would encourage you. This would be a crazy episode.
Yeah.
Go look up how many violent offenders get let out of jail within a week of getting arrested. Guys that have shot people. We arrested a guy for torture, let out of jail. Like, these judges and prosecutors are corrupt. It's like they're promoting lawlessness.
Yeah.
But they'll try to hang up cops. And so I'm like, dude, if I shoot this guy and anything goes wrong, I will go to jail.
Wow.
So that was part of you can't even police the way you need to police because this guy's a danger to the public. But I'm like, I also don't want to go to jail. So it's quite a situation to be in.
That's terrible.
My hat's off to anyone policing in a state that does not support you.
LA, right?
Oh gosh, bro. Yeah. San Francisco.
Yeah.
Any of these, Minneapolis. I mean,
they can't even do their job.
No.
It's terrible.
No, in Seattle, there was a guy who, a guy who was running around with like a hatchet. And that's a shootable guy. He has a hatchet, The police were so scared to use force that they waited till his back was turned and they ran up and bear hugged him, which is really dumb, but I get it. They don't want to go to jail. The guy got punished for excessive force.
No.
For tackling a guy that they could have shot legally.
Crazy.
Dude, so you talk about as a Christian, like I had this, I felt like God gave me a better revelation of like, all right, I had a clearer mind. You cannot do that job out of your flesh because we're humans, bro. Like, we would be trying to save someone's life and there'd be people in our face with phones calling us racist pigs and crazy stuff. And you're like, if you're not grounded and you don't know who you are, you'll take the bait. And that's why cops get in trouble. So,
well, it's important you provide the police perspective, because you see a lot of people get mad at cops for not taking action, but you got to understand their livelihood is on the line too.
Yeah. And I'm willing to lose my life for, they ask you when you're getting hired, at least in my department, if you show up to a school shooting and your backup isn't there yet and you hear shooting, do you go in? And I'm like, yeah, people are being killed.
Yeah.
That's the right answer. So if it's a case of like a cop not going in because of cowardice, dude, hang that guy. Right. But if it's someone who's trying to make a decision about, hey, I'm going to be put in jail for the rest of my life because I did my job, that I totally understand.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, look what they did to Daniel Penny, bro. If he had a cop uniform on,
have the people funding him. If he didn't have the money to fight that, they would have went the other way, I think.
Yeah, but it speaks to where we're at as a country, where like the nation is demanding, like, dude, you better let this guy off.
Absolutely.
This is actually what we want in the country, is men to step up and do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I was stoked about it.
I want to talk about your most viral video, the family emoji.
Oh shoot, bro.
That got removed from Apple.
Yeah, the family. Yeah, it did, bro. I just put that one up. Yeah, it's like a 250,000 views.
I think.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's doing well. It's still going. I put it up like 2 weeks ago. Bro, I couldn't believe it. And I guess they did it months ago and I never noticed. I
never even noticed.
I don't use the family emoji. I usually just, I don't even use it ever.
Yeah.
But when I heard that, I was like, this is insane. I went and looked for myself for sure. It's gone. Now it's like a gray background with white dots. It's like, dude, you used to be able to choose the race and the makeup of the family. Now you can't, but you could choose like 2 dads and a kid or something. I'm like, look, if you want to go like progressive and be super gay or whatever, like do your thing, but don't try to remove like the basic fundamental institution of the family. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a man and a woman.
Right.
I don't care what your gender is or whatever. It took a man and a woman for you to get here.
Yeah.
So it's pretty absurd to like remove them. I don't know. What do you think about all that stuff?
It can't be a coincidence. So for me, it seems intentional. And that's where my issue is. Like, there's just so many instances of that, like attacking the family unit. It's like, that can't be an accident at this point.
And they said, oh, it was because it wasn't inclusive. They were yellow before. Like, that's inclusive of everyone. Yeah. I mean, it's the default. It's not like they only had white families or only had, black families.
Super strange to me.
So I'm with you. If too many things don't line up, I'm like, yeah, that's probably intentional.
Fishy stuff.
Yeah.
Shane, what are you working on next year, man?
So I lead a men's ministry called Promise Keepers. We're a national men's ministry. And so we're doing college tours. We're doing men's conferences. I'm actually on my personal YouTube. I'm reading the Bible every day for a year.
Wow.
So January 1st to December 24th for 15 minutes a day, I'm going to read the Bible live on YouTube. And my goal is millions of people around the world are all getting exposed to the Bible at the same time. And I think it's going to be awesome. So I'm really excited for that.
We'll link your YouTube below. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.